house. We've got Texas and New Jersey, and Charlotte is in the house. Silver Spring is in the house. Shout out to the DMV. Hampton, Virginia, Baltimore, Miami, Florida. Woo! Mississippi is in the house. Oakland, California is in the house. Baton Rouge, Louisiana is in the house. Stone Mountain, Georgia is in the house. So many of you are in the house. More than 1,000 of you are here tonight. Welcome to Win with Black Women. It is so wonderful to see so many of you. And some of you I've seen today. I literally ran into some wonderful sisters. And when I'm traveling all across the country, I think all of us that service Win with Black Women, we meet and see each other all the time. So it's always wonderful. To the sisters that I saw in Martha's Vineyard this past Juneteenth, or the sisters that we saw today at the U.S. Black Chamber of Commerce, the celebration, and shout out to the 50 women that are being honored tomorrow, many of them that are part of the Win with Black Women community. Big shout out and congratulations to all of them. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get us started. Good evening, sisters, and welcome. My name is Joteka Edie, and it is always my honor to convene the circle once again. Tonight is a heavy night and also a hopeful one. We have a lot on the agenda, and so, as we always do, let us ground ourselves before we dive in. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, welcome. Win with Black Women is a sacred space. It is a space that we have been convening for now nearly 6 years. What makes me very sad is that the next time that we come together, which will be August 30th, because we take a bit of a break during the summer, we would have celebrated 6 years of Win with Black Women. Can you believe it? It's been almost 6 years. August the 1st would be 6 years we've been coming together. And our mission and the work that we do has not faltered. It has been the same. One, making sure that we speak out against racism and sexism hurled at Black women in any place that we see it. Number two, making sure that we educate and elevate in our personal capacities Black women into elected office. We firmly believe that representation matters, and it's important for us to be represented up and down the ballot. And number three, working to elevate not only the purpose, but the power and the image of Black women, and particularly that of Black women-led organizations. That's the work that we have been doing. And we've done some great work together. We have, as we all remember, when we first came together, working in coalition and following the leadership of Black women leaders who have been laying the groundwork for years and years and years, collectively came together to say it was our time to ensure that we were in the highest ticket. And together we galvanized and we saw the work and the fruit of that work with the election of our nation's first Black woman Vice President of the United States, our forever Vice President, Kamala Harris. The work that we have done in entertainment in making sure that we lift our collective voices to support Black women, and all of the works that we do, whether it's in Hollywood, behind the camera, in front of the camera. Our collective work when The Little Mermaid was faced with racism and sexism, we brought out 100 theaters opening weekend to show not only the economic power of Black women, but also that our stories matter. The collective work that we have done in partnership and following the leadership of the WNBA Players Association, and that work that helped to lead to the release of our sister Brittney Griner. And our work continued and continued. And almost 2 years ago, you all will remember the historic night where there were 44,000 of us on one Zoom. So I have to tell you a little something about that. We actually have been running the numbers, and I've been having a good time looking into the data. Well, we'll continue to publicly claim 44,000, but you all should know that actually we had 71,000 people on and off that Zoom in those hours that we were on that Zoom. We also have found out that there have been nearly 100,000 people who were not on that Zoom that watch the Zoom, We know that there were 30,000 people in Clubhouse. We know that there were at least 4 to 5 free conference call lines where we have the data where we can show there were 10,000 people on one free conference call line listening to our Zoom. So we'll forever claim 44,000 because that'll be our number. But the good thing is to know that we actually have far more. And we raised a historic $1.6 million in 100 minutes. I always talk about that because I think it's important for us, particularly in these moments and these times when it feels like everything is put up against us and our backs are against the wall, that if we could always go back to what we felt like in that moment, the power that we had in that moment, the spirit that we felt in that moment, it hasn't gone anywhere. It still belongs to us and it's still ours. We still have that same power. We still have that same energy and we still have that same determination. That is what Win with Black Women is all about. Well, as you know, here at Win with Black Women, we open in the spirit and we close in the spirit. And once we close in the spirits, we have what we call after hours. That's an opportunity where you could go into a private room and be in community with other sisters around topics, whether or not you just want to talk about the latest current events, or if you want to talk about something more of a deep dive. And so we are so honored to have all of the women that are gracing the Win with Black Women stage tonight. And I am so honored to bring to the stage a sister that is no stranger to Win with Black Women. We know her very well. She's been there in the OG days. Let us welcome our sister, attorney Pamela Cook, who will come and join us and open us in the spirit. Welcome, 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 Sister Cook. Hello.
Good evening, beloved sisters. Before I begin, I want to first issue a heartfelt thank you to this wonderful group for the encouragement, advocacy, and extraordinary community of prayers you have extended to my sister, Federal Reserve Governor Dr. Lisa Cook, and to our entire family. Through every stage of this journey, you have surrounded her with a circle of support, and we are deeply grateful. In May, Sister Simone Sanders Townsend, in her commencement speech at Spelman College, challenged the graduates with a question that I think all of us need to carry with us. What do you do when the conditions are not in your favor? Her answer was simple and profound. You build anyway. She reminded the graduates that Spelman College was built anyway. The Divine Nine was built anyway. The NAACP was built anyway. They were all born in seasons when the conditions were anything but favorable. If you have not had the opportunity to hear her address, I commend it to you. It is a timely reminder that hope is not passive, hope builds. In this month, when we celebrate the feast day of Harriet Tubman and Sojourner Truth, we know that is exactly what Harriet Tubman and Sojourner Truth did. Harriet built freedom one journey at a time. Sojourner built justice one truth at a time. Neither waited for perfect conditions. They remembered who they were, and they built anyway. So we stand in a sacred place between memory and possibility. Tubman and Truth understood that oppression requires people to forget who they are. Freedom begins when we remember, and remembering matters in this moment. It matters for every Black woman serving in public life who is being pressured to become smaller, quieter, less visible, or less courageous. Remember who you are. We come from women who survived what was designed to destroy us. We come from women who made a way out of no way. We come from women who prayed, organized, taught, voted, marched, litigated, legislated, mothered, mentored, and kept moving toward freedom. May we be undaunted in remembering who we are. May we be undaunted in building anyway. Let us pray. Eternal Spirit, Earth Maker, Pain Bearer, Life Giver, Source of all that is and that shall be, Father and Mother of us all. We thank you for the ancestors whose lives prepared the way for ours. We thank you for Harriet Tubman and Sojourner Truth, for their faith, their courage, their voices, and their refusal to accept injustice as permanent. We thank you for the women whose names history never recorded, whose prayers, labor, sacrifices, and love live within us. Be near to Black women who have lost employment and those who are searching for meaningful work. Open doors that no injustice can close. Be near to the caregivers who are tired. Remind them that they are worthy of care, rest, tenderness, and support. Protect the sacred right to vote. Strengthen those who are defending the Voting Rights Act, fair representation, and the voices of Black communities. Help us remember who we are. Help us honor those who came before us. And help us live, lead, advocate, and love in ways that will bless the 7 generations yet to come. May we be our ancestors' answered prayers, and may we become the answered prayers of our descendants. Amen and Ashe.
Thank you so much, Sister Cook. We build anyway, and you please let our good sister, the very first Black woman to serve as a governor on the Federal Reserve Board, that she always has love and home here at Win with Black Women. Thank you. Well, sisters, I am so honored to bring up this next guest. She was a part of the OG, the very first Win with Black Women call nearly 6 years ago. And we cannot move forward without grounding ourselves with an understanding of what has happened in the highest court of the land. And our next guest has been closest and very clear, consistent voice in telling the truth about what happens with the U.S. Supreme Court and justice in this country. Kristen Clarke is the General Counsel of the NAACP and previously served as Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights Department at the U.S. Department of Justice under the Biden-Harris administration. I like to call you our forever AG. And she has spent a career on the front lines, whether it has been voting rights, litigation, enforcement, civil rights, and really is one of the voices that you have seen responding and also being proactive, filing cases all across this country, and particularly as it relates to what we have been seeing at the Supreme Court. So this next segment is entitled Know the Court: What the Supreme Court has decided and what does it mean for us. So welcome, Attorney General Kristen Clarke, General Counsel. It's always good to see you, my sister. Thank you for always being here with us, whether or not when you were serving in the Biden-Harris administration, prior to that, or now in this new capacity. I want to start by asking you to break down this latest season of the Supreme Court. We saw a lot of what many of us would say a lot of damage, a lot of turnbacks. Can you talk about what we have seen, what we have witnessed, and what does it mean for us?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, let me just say thank you, Joteka. Thank you for your leadership and for your tireless advocacy and for always creating space for us to talk about the issues that we need to focus on in this moment. And it is great to be here with all of you tonight. And back in the fight, I'm a lifelong civil rights lawyer, and I'm grateful to be a part of Team NAACP at this really critical moment in our democracy where we face grave threats. There was a lot that happened this Supreme Court term, and we won't have time to go through it all, but maybe what I can do is just set the stage and share some observations about this Supreme Court term with a focus on some of the last cases. The court has a pattern of saving some of the blockbuster cases until the end of the term, and no doubt that's what we saw this term. First, can we give praise and recognize Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, who just wrapped up 4 strong years on the court? She has been a powerful and consistent voice for full and fair enforcement of the Constitution and of our civil rights laws. And she is always standing up for vulnerable people in every case that comes before the court. Let's give her praise as she wraps up 4 years on the court. Second, I also want to acknowledge Justice Kagan and Justice Sotomayor. That trio of voices has been incredibly powerful on the court, incredibly powerful this term. They often come together and author dissents, but those dissents are powerful because they're providing a roadmap for all of us to think about the future, to think about how we repair democracy, to think about where we need to move forward in the fight that lies ahead. So thank you to all three of Justice Jackson, Justice Kagan, and Justice Sotomayor. They did work this term. Third, this Supreme Court, no doubt, at every opportunity is finding a way to put their thumb on the scale in favor of more executive power and more executive authority for President Trump. At every turn, they are looking for a way to clear the hurdles so that Trump can carry forward his agenda. And we should all be very concerned about the direction that this court is moving in. Fourth, this court has zero respect for precedent, zero respect for cases that have been on the books for decades. At every turn, we have seen the court just cast aside precedents that have been in place. In one instance, they cast aside a precedent that had been in place for almost a century in a case dealing with the president's power to terminate people who serve on on independent agencies. Fifth, this Supreme Court has a very low standing with the public right now. When you look at recent Supreme Court pollings, Americans have never expressed a greater level of dissatisfaction for the Supreme Court. A recent poll conducted by the Gallup News Service shows that roughly 42% of Americans approve of the job that the court is doing, and 52% disapprove. 52% disapprove. Sixth, we have seen a court that likes to act like they are lawmakers, that likes to pull out its pen and rewrite laws like the Voting Rights Act. Justice Kagan, in one case, called out her colleagues on the court and warned that the way that the court retains its legitimacy and fosters public confidence is when they act like a court. Otherwise, the justices are simply 9 unaccountable people who haven't been elected who make rules for a democracy. Really troubling. Seventh, this is a court that's very, very polarized. We saw lots of 6-3 rulings this term, more than we've seen in the past. Last term, about 9% of all decisions were along a 6-3 ideological split, and that number rose to 23% this term. And then finally, I'll say, Joteka, that this court wants us to believe that we are a colorblind society. We see the court expressing that views in lots of ways and in increasing ways this term, but we all know that racial discrimination is alive and well. This is a court that wants us to turn a blind eye to discrimination, even though it is laid bare and out in the open. And so that's something we should all be deeply concerned about.
That's a very sobering breakdown, and it's very, looking in the chat, and folks and sisters are agreeing with you. One question for you, just like some of the cases, particularly the birthright citizen case, particularly around TPS and our Haitian brothers and sisters, and some of those cases that have come out of the courts. Of course, we spent a lot of time talking about Louisiana versus Calais. Could you talk about some of the cases that maybe we haven't heard as much about, but also have a significant impact on our communities?
Yeah, the birthright citizenship case was huge. And this case should have been 9-0 because it is simply about cracking open the 14th Amendment and reading the text and adhering to the history that has long been in place. And it sadly was a 6-3 decision. This case, Trump versus Barbara, was about Trump's very first executive order since coming back into office, which sought to strip birthright citizenship away from American children born to undocumented parents. Um, the decision was monumental. It reaffirms that birthright citizenship is the law of the land, but it is deeply concerning that we did not see a 9-0 ruling here. We've already seen President Trump, expressing the view that he's going to go to Congress and try to find an end run around this. We've seen him go back to the Supreme Court, asking them to revisit their decision here. But the 14th Amendment is clear that all people born on United States soil are citizens of the United States. So really, really important ruling here. I encourage everyone to read Justice Jackson's powerful concurrence in the case. It offers a powerful rebuke to Justice Thomas, who, for the very first time, takes the view that the 14th Amendment and its protections only apply to Black people. Um, so a very, very powerful concurrence, and I encourage everyone to take a moment to review it. You also mentioned the TPS case. This is
And
a
can you break down TPS? I want to try not to use acronyms on here so we can break down. Could you say what TPS means, what it stands for, uh,
Yeah.
and the real impact, because it impacts so many of our Haitian brothers and
So
sisters.
many people. So TPS stands for Temporary Protected Status. And this is a program that was established by Congress in 1990, and it was meant to protect people who come to America and can't safely return to their country because they are dealing with war or a natural disaster. And that certainly has been the case with Haiti, where the country has just been in turmoil, where they've dealt with a devastating earthquake where hundreds of thousands of people lost their lives. And we are home to over 700,000 Haitian nationals in the United States who are law abiding, who contribute to our economy. Haitian immigrants comprise the 15th largest foreign-born population in the United States. About 110,000 healthcare positions in the United States are filled by Haitian migrants. And so it is really devastating here that the Supreme Court again sided with Trump in his arbitrary decision to terminate protected status for Haitian nationals and other protected groups. Now, what's interesting about this case is that part of the evidence that was put forward to the courts and that lower courts agreed with is that this was a racially discriminatory decision. That the only reason that the administration made the view to randomly and arbitrarily terminate protected status for Haitian nationals is because of their hatred and their animus for Haitian nationals. President Trump has made horrific statements about Haitian communities. They're eating dogs and eating cats. They probably have AIDS. That Haiti is, I will not use the expletive to describe how he talks about Haiti as a country. He says Haitian immigration is like a death wish for our country. He has said that they are poisoning our blood. And all of this evidence was put forward by the court, and Justice Alito kind of said, nothing to see here. We live in a world today where people use, stark language, but this to him was not enough evidence to show that the administration was acting with a discriminatory intent. As a lifelong civil rights lawyer, I will tell you that that kind of evidence is what we would call smoking gun evidence of discrimination. You don't need anything more. I think this case is horrible, not just because of the implications for our Haitian brothers and sisters, but because it also makes clear what a dangerous direction this Supreme Court is moving in. Again, it is a court that wants us all to pretend and believe that discrimination is a thing of the past when we see it right in front of us each and
Mm.
every day.
Well, Attorney General Clark, I want to raise also Trump versus Slaughter. We just had our sister Cook, and she invoked her own sister, our sister, Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook, and that was a very pivotal decision out of the Supreme Court. Can you talk about the decisioning in that case, particularly the impact on our sister? Federal Reserve Board Governor Lisa Cook, but what does it say about the president's ability to fire at his own discretion heads of independent agencies?
Yeah. So there are two cases that the Supreme Court heard this term. One of them deals with independent agencies, agencies like the Federal Trade Commission, the Election Assistance Commission, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, that were designed to be independent, to be led in a bipartisan way, designed to be neutral. And the Supreme Court here overturned precedent and essentially said that the president, that the executive branch, i.e., Trump, needs to have the power to terminate people who lead those agencies. Otherwise, you're encroaching on the power of the executive branch, with one exception when it comes to dealing with the Federal Reserve. Here, the court seemed to be very concerned about the whiplash that might happen going from administration to administration, and very concerned about the impact on their pocketbooks, the impact on the money, with having the president arbitrarily fire heads of the Federal Reserve without a basis. So the court was skeptical about the way Trump handled the firing of Ms. Cook, and basically argued that there should be more due process for her, that she should be given notice and an opportunity to be heard. So, I think these cases are important because, these independent agencies impact every aspect of our lives. But there's one moment where the court is willing to put a footnote on all of this when you're messing with their money, when you're doing something that implicates their pocketbook. That seems to be the one moment where this court says, you know what, wait, we probably need to be a check on the power of the president, on the power of here, President Trump in particular, and his arbitrary, and I'd argue discriminatory decision to single out and attempt to remove Ms. Cook.
Absolutely. I have two more questions, and I have to give a big shout out and big love to our sister Donna Brazil, who always helps to field and give me a lot of encouragement on thoughtful questions to bring forth, and want to give Donna our love. I want to ask this question, and it just came to me. Someone wanted to ask: are the decisions made under the shadow docket final?
Yeah, it's a good question. And what is the shadow docket? So cases that land at the Supreme Court door are few and far between. The court only hears a couple dozen cases every year. And historically, we have seen the court exercise a lot of care. The cases are fully briefed by the parties. There is oral argument. The court takes its time and issues, extensive, detailed decisions. But increasingly, we are seeing Trump in particular race to the Supreme Court, skipping the steps below of going from the lower court and then to an appellate court and then trying to get the Supreme Court to hear you and to hear your case, racing matters up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court, without offering an explanation of its decisions, will say, you know what, we are blocking what the lower court did. And we're not offering an explanation to the public. We are not being transparent and explaining our decisions. It's a practice that we should all be concerned about. I think it explains in part why there's so many people who don't have a lot of confidence and faith in the Supreme Court right now. And it's why, Joteka, I think it's really important that a part of this conversation be about the need for all of us to advocate and push for Supreme Court reform.
Yes.
This Supreme Court is broken. This is a Supreme Court that is not acting independently, that is not acting with transparency, that is bent on doing things that are all about Trump being able to carry forward his agenda. Supreme Court reform, I think, means on a basic level calling for things like ethics reform, calling for a ban on the shadow docket, calling for term limits so that we do not have people who are cemented in place on the court. But I think an important part of the conversation about how we fix what is broken in our democracy right now has to be championing and pushing for Supreme Court reform.
Well, you went right into my very last question. It was a question about what do we do in the face of a court that seems to be stacked against us? And I think you've outlined for us very clearly it is the advocacy around Supreme Court reform, term limits. Some have even advocated for expanding the court beyond the 9 justices, but certainly getting rid of the shadow docket, and really working to ensure that the court goes back to what it should be, impartial and really following the law. That's what's very important. Before you leave, if you could just share with us, for the 1,400, and there are others that are in other platforms watching this call tonight, so nearly 1,600 sisters that are gathered around the country. If they could only do one thing, what would you ask for them to do tonight, next week, in the next 2 weeks?
So, 3 quick things. Vote,
Yes.
vote, vote, vote like you never did before. 2, keep pushing, talking about and championing Supreme Court reform. And then finally, I would say just be on alert because there is the potential for a resignation from the Supreme Court in the days and months ahead. And if that happens, we need to be prepared to advocate as vigorously as we came and stood up and pushed for the confirmation of Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. We need to vigorously oppose anyone that President Trump might seek to put forward for a permanent position on the United States Supreme Court. There's been talk about Aileen Cannon, who has presided over a few of Trump cases in the Mar-a-Lago area. Emile Bove, one of his personal lawyers who he recently put up for a seat on the Third Circuit, his Solicitor General, who argues all of the cases that we talked about tonight, who stands in the well of the Supreme Court, works at the Justice Department. He's on that short list, and there are others. So if that happens, Joteka, I really hope that we can count on Win with Black women being a powerful voice of dissent and opposition to a nominee that we know will not be fair and impartial.
Thank you so much. Vote, continue to talk about this. And when it is time for us to Voltron and be very clear that we do not accept nor support those that are not in a position to be impartial on the court, it is a resounding no. Thank you so much for your leadership. Thank you for your advocacy. And thank you for just really explaining to us so much of what's going on in the courts. Thank you, sister.
Thank you for having me.
Well, sisters, we're going to keep going on this agenda. I'm going to be very honest with you. This next segment is a hard one, but it is also very necessary. There have been two cases that have really touched our entire nation, and particularly as Black women, we have felt it over the last several weeks. The case of our young brother, Carmelo Anthony, and the case of our young brother, Nolan Wells. We know that as Black women, in a particular way, because at the center of both is young Black life, a grieving family, and a system that many of us no longer can trust. Joining us tonight will be two women who are close to these fights and to the families that are living through them. Before we bring them up, we want to play this video to put these cases into context.
Let's at least give them the transparency that they deserve. As Christine said, any parent, black, white, brown, or red, you would want answers. If somebody came to you and said, we went out with him, we left him, and now he's dead. No, we got to get answers, Roland Martin. We must get answers.
Thank you for that. Joining us tonight, a sister who's been with us since day one. She is a Win with Black Women OG. She is a leader. Oh, we have our next video. I'm going to bring this video up first.
First of all, I want to say thank you, everyone, for being here. This is not how I wanted the world to meet my son, but here we are. So, as you know, I'm Christine Wells Wansley. I am Nolan Wells's mom. And Nolan is the kindest soul. He never met a stranger. He loved everybody. He didn't care if you were black, white, purple, green, looked like a marshmallow. Like, he just wanted everyone to be in peace with one another. He loved life, and God gave him this big heart, which always scared us. Me and his dad had conversations with him all the time, not just about the importance of understanding our history as Black people, but also the importance of how you have to move in certain spaces. And it's not us being, feeding into racism or the stereotypes that comes with that. Unfortunately, that is just a matter of fact. There have been many cases, many instances that shows it's unfortunately a pattern that he did not like. He did not like that there was so much division, and I think that's why God gave him us. He was really a peacemaker. He wanted, like I said, everyone to be included. He never wanted to leave anyone out. He just, even at a young age, I don't know, he was, how old was he? 18? No, not 18. When he was a baby, he did a little dance. So his father and I were having a moment, and as couples do, and even in that moment, he runs in the room with his diaper on, of course, and he starts dancing, because it was like he could feel the tension. He could feel that something wasn't right. So he was just a special kid. Like, he was a special kid, but again, just heart was so big. And we're gonna miss him dearly. But we are grateful, especially to our friend Tashima, who actually was one of the people who helped us that night. She went and picked up his cell phone from where it was, and then provided that to us, because we of course contacted authorities to figure out who to do the report with, whether it was the county or the city, which then turned into DMR, who I contacted immediately from there. But
Tell them how you got the cell phone.
so our friend actually, when I called her, Nolan is best friends with her two sons, Jalen and Javon. When I called her, I said, Tashima, have you seen Nolan? He's missing. No one has seen him. No one has talked to him. The boys were actually with her, her sons, so they opened up their Snapchat, because a lot of the kids do have their locations where they're tracking one another. So one of the boys says, well, it's showing that, I can't exactly remember what his location was showing, but my Life 360 location was showing something completely different. It was actually showing that his phone was like he was on land. And so we ended up, she received the phone from that parent, and then we met up where his car was, which was at a separate location. There were issues obtaining the key, but even so, there was just a lot of.
Tell them about what happened with the keys.
So I'm gonna let my husband tell you about that, because he actually went up to the door to get the key, because at that point, I was just not in my right mind. This has just been an awful situation, just terrible.
Elmore Wansley, the father.
And we have another video that we will show on Mr. Anthony's case as well.
I know my son. My son is no murderer. My son didn't intend to hurt anyone. My son was defending himself, and that's what hurt so bad.
God will tell us all.
Yeah.
We don't
We
know
just
when,
been-
but yeah, it's just,
Just been praying and keeping the faith.
I think we all can feel both of those videos, and our hearts goes out. I think as Black women, we not only hear those voices, but we feel it, we see it, because for many of us, we are those sisters. Joining us tonight are two sisters who have been so close to these cases, not only the litigation and the legal aspect of this case, but walking with these families. Rachel Norlander is no stranger to Win with Black Women. She's been with us literally since day one. She put out our first press release. She's an award-winning communication strategist and a partner at Actum LLC. She is the first Black woman to be a partner and hold equity partnership in a global strategy firm. She has 3 decades in public relations and media relations, and she's been a trusted advisor to Reverend Al Sharpton. And sadly, but also importantly, she has been there literally in many of the most horrific cases in our history, whether it's been Trayvon Martin, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery. I could just go on and on and on, and now Carmelo Anthony and Nolan Wells. Also, and Rachel is going to share more, about our sister attorney Brooke Cluse, who is a civil rights litigation attorney and chief of staff to attorney Ben Crump at Ben Crump Law. She is no stranger to the law, public defender. She comes out of Harris County, Texas. If you know anything about Harris County, I used to work on death penalty cases and spent a lot of time in Harris County. But she has been recently come on board on the case of Carmelo Anthony. You probably heard about that. They're going to talk more about that. But I'm going to turn it over to Sister Rachel to tell you more about Attorney Cluse and herself in this case. And I have a few questions, and I know there's a lot of, just so you all can see and just take note, there's just a lot of love, um, a lot of prayers, and a lot of encouragement that's coming from the sisters in the chat. So welcome, Sister Rachel and Attorney Cluse. Sister Rachel, I'll turn it over to you to tell us more about this dynamic attorney that we have on the call with us tonight.
Indeed. Thank you, Joe, and as always, thank you for all that you do. I know our collective hearts go out to both of these families. I actually coordinated the press conference that you saw with the parents of Nolan Xavier Wells, Christine, and Elmore. And the tragic and trauma, the tragedy and the trauma are something that is, it's really painful. And so that is why my introduction of this next woman is somewhat providential, because for many, many years, Attorney Brooke Cluse has been working tirelessly behind the scenes. She is the only female on the team that is leading the appeal for Carmelo Anthony, the only female. She is also working, as you said, in her role as Chief of Staff to Attorney Ben Crump, the great Attorney Ben Crump. She is working on the case as well for Nolan on behalf of his family. And she's no stranger to being in the forefront of civil rights cases. She represented the family of Botham Jean in Texas. He was shot in 2018 by a Dallas police officer, Amber Geiger. And Attorney Cluse was up front on that case, and many, many others. And we need to know her name, and we're going to continue to see her name as she ascends, and we will lift her as she comes on board tonight to talk to us about these cases and generally what is happening in the criminal justice system that is causing us to be in so many moments of despair as such. So Attorney Cluse, welcome to Win with Black Women.
Wow, thank you, Rachel. I'm so honored to be here, and thank you for that lovely introduction. It's such a pleasure to be able to learn and lead alongside you. And Joteka, the advocacy that you are doing for Black women with Win with Black Women is so necessary, and we don't take it for granted. So I thank you, and I'm honored to be here. Good evening, sisters.
We thank you for being here, sister. And as Rachel said, and I think often we Black women, we do the work. We get in there and we do the work and we be behind the scenes. But sisters, I want you all to say the sister's name, Attorney Brooke Cluse. She has been right there walking alongside Attorney Crump, and she is on the front lines. And it's important for us to know that there are Black women that are right there in these cases, and she is right there. Anytime I told her earlier today, anytime if I see the phone or a text message and it comes from her or Attorney Crump, I'm going to find my way to a corner and make sure that I'm answering. Attorney Cluse, I want to start with you, and I want to talk first about Carmelo Anthony's case. And you have, there was a big announcement of the assembling of some powerful attorneys and a legal team that is going to file the appeal alongside our good friends at the NAACP, Gary Bledsoe and others. And you're the only sister as a part of that legal team. And we all know the case of Carmelo Anthony was convicted to 35 years by a jury not of his peers. And we were so, I think, elated to know that there is now a legal team that is fighting for a new trial. I want to first ask, what should we know right now about where Carmelo Anthony case, where does it stand right now?
Yes. So at Ben Crump Law, we have taken on the cases of Carmelo Anthony and Nolan Wells, types of cases that we traditionally do not take. But one of the things that is important to Attorney Crump is that when something happens that shocks the conscience, we have to get involved. And so with this appellate team, we currently have filed two motions, a motion to recuse and a motion for a new trial. And while I can't get into a lot of details about the case, it is still very active investigation and ongoing. I do want to direct our sisters to www.standwithcarmelo.com. And there you will find up-to-date information regarding our motions and even educational information on the appeals process. But we want to be real clear that this case is about the Constitution and transparency. Okay, the legitimacy of the criminal justice system is not about just getting convictions, but it's about making sure that the Constitution is real and that these convictions are constitutionally sound. Carmelo Anthony, I'll say this, we went to visit him recently, and visiting with Carmelo in jail reminded me of my work when I was a public defender. So many of our young boys, and I say boys, it doesn't matter that was 17, 18, 19, 20, these are boys. They are overrepresented in the criminal justice system. Some of them make serious mistakes. Some of them are repeat offenders. Some of my clients were, and some of them didn't do the things that they were accused of. But what I can say is each and every one of them deserved due process and equal justice under the law. And that is why I enjoyed my work so much as a public defender, because I got to fight for young boys like Carmelo Anthony. And so he is blessed in that he has us to come on as this superpowered appellate team. But I do want you all to know that we have a long road ahead. We need your prayers. Carmelo Anthony and his family needs your prayers. And we are so grateful to have the community behind us and them as we fight to just make sure that he has a fair shot.
Thank you. And this question is for both you and Rachel. And we know community, you mentioned community, and having the community's voice is critical in any of these cases. And I think in Carmelo's case is critically important of having that voice. For all of the sisters that are on this call now, it's over 1,500 from around the country. What as a community we can do in real time to support and advocate around this case? What should we be saying? What is if we could only say, one or two sentences, there's a lot of mis and disinformation out there. What is it that we can do as a community to echo chamber and lift up?
I'll just jump in quickly and say to Attorney Cluse's point, we can all go to standwithcarmelo.com. We will continuously be updating the site throughout this appeal process with facts versus myths, relevant articles that are not disinformation. We will be making sure to deconstruct what is truth and what is not.
Attorney Cluse, was there anything that you wanted to add there?
Sure. We are taking this case on pro bono. And so there will come a time, though, when, as we continue to hire experts and investigators and do the groundwork, we will be hopefully being able to establish a legal fund that is strictly for his defense. So please be on the lookout for that and just stay in touch with us, because while we can't speak, please know that I work for Ben Crump Law. We're court of public opinion people. So we want to shout from the mountaintops, but this is not that case, right? We have to work hard behind the scenes to make sure that we are following the law and to make sure we hold the court accountable to following the law too, because we're not saying that Black people don't want to be held accountable or have immunity from the law. We just want equal justice under the law. So just stay in touch with us because we'll keep the community updated. And I also say, please pray because it's going to take a lot of prayer and we need all the prayer warriors out there keeping us lifted.
Prayer absolutely matters. And we will make sure that we drop in the chat and in our recap email, the website. If you could say the website one more time, it is www.standwithcarmelo.com.
And it's
Everybody.
Carmelo with a K.
Yes, Carmelo with a K. There it is. Thank you, Sister Elizabeth Cook and Sister Layla. I love when with Black women sisters, they say, look, we about to keep dropping it in the chat all
Thank you, thank
night.
you.
Yeah. I want to now turn to the case of Nolan Wells. We know that this is a case is still yet unfolding. We saw the heart wrenching press conference. And thank you, Rachel, for just your work and advocacy and what you did to make that press conference a reality, because I think what it did is it provided a glimpse into not only what this family is dealing with, but also the advocacy and some of the hard questions that should be asked in this case. I'm going to ask the same question I asked about Carmelo's case. What should we all know right now about Nolan Wells' case that we can discuss?
Yeah, sure. So, I see both Carmelo Anthony and Nolan Wells' case having some parallel connection, right? And so, again, we took this case for transparency and for accountability. We want to know, and there's really just one question: what happened to Nolan Wells? He went out on a boat trip with his friends and everybody returned but him. How can that be possible? And how can no one not know the answer to that, right? And so, no institution should be permitted to have us or demand transparency and for us to believe them if they're not willing to tell us what's going on in these investigations. So that's why Ben Crump Law took this case. We are already having the independent autopsy done, and then we've hired investigators to talk to witnesses, forensic experts. Transparency and accountability is the name of this case for us, and we will not allow Nolan Wells' case to be swept under the rug. So our team at Ben Crump Law is doing everything to dot every I and cross every T to get answers for his family, because this is just unconscionable, and we won't sleep and they won't sleep until we get the answers that satisfies what happened to this young man. Such a lovely young man.
Yeah. It's been heart-wrenching. Rachel?
Yeah, in the Nolan Xavier Wells case, a grieving family is seeking answers. Nolan's parents, Christine and Elmore, they deserve evidence, not speculation. They deserve answers. And often we see it every day, and I'll talk a little bit about this in a second. Often before investigations are even complete, the internet has already reached a verdict, which is why shifting narratives is so, so important. In the Carmelo Anthony case, we've watched people who've never even read a court filing, never heard testimony, never stepped inside a courtroom, becoming experts online. And so we're in an age where misinformation and disinformation is so rampant. We have to go to places like standwithcarmelo.com so that we can really derive the truth and stay connected to people like Attorney Cluth so that we can understand what next steps are as she leads, as the only female, the appeal that will prayerfully get this young brother a new trial. If I could for just a second, Joe, talk a little bit about, the human cost of false narratives. We often talk about on these calls that misinformation and disinformation are threats to democracy. And as Attorney Cluth said, they're threats to our constitutional rights. They have become weapons in our community. And, most of us don't have the luxury of talking about this academically. We're living it every single day. people often ask me, like, what is crisis communications? They think it's just getting someone on television or writing a press release. But the hardest part is sitting across from a mother who's just lost her child and having to explain that while she's planning a funeral, strangers on the internet are already rewriting her child's story. No family should have to fight for the truth while they're trying to grieve. And the danger is it's often very hard to differentiate between misinformation and disinformation, and especially in the age of AI. And misinformation is false information spread by people who actually might believe that it's true. The spreader of the information may just believe that what they're spreading is true. But disinformation is false information that is spread intentionally to manipulate people. One is a mistake, the other is a strategy. And it's a very calculated strategy, a very contrived and highly funded strategy. And again, unfortunately, our algorithms do not reward the truth. I worked alongside, as you said, Joe, Reverend Al Sharpton for 3 decades. Before him, Attorney Johnny Cochran, and now Ben Crump. I've represented families whose names, they become hashtags and headlines and national debates. And every family thinks that like the legal system will be their hardest fight. Increasingly, it isn't. It's the lie that is told about their loved one that spreads faster than the truth. And Black women, we've always been the guardians of our communities. We've preserved our history when others refuse to record it. We've protected our families. We've organized movements. We've turned moments into movements. And we've told the truth when the truth is inconvenient. But keep in mind, every repost is a decision. Every share is an endorsement. Every rumor has the power to reach someone's mother before it reaches the facts. So be very, very intentional and careful about what you post and how you post, because disinformation is the new form of violence. It may not leave bruises on the body, but it leaves wounds on reputations, on due process, on grieving families, and on entire communities. And Dr. King reminded us that the arc of the moral universe bends towards justice, but justice can't bend towards truth if we keep bending the truth. So our communities don't need louder voices. We need more disciplined voices. We don't need more opinions. We need more evidence. And so I am so thankful to this Win with Black Women platform, because we increasingly share the truth when the truth is being misconstrued online. And the last thing I'll say, Joe, because we mentioned Dr. King, and I'm sure there will be this topic on future calls. But a lot of people say, what can we do? You can in real time spread information that is not misinformation and disinformation, and you can get outside. Dr. King's family will be joining many other civil rights legacy groups and advocates and activists convened by Reverend Sharpton and National Action Network and Martin Luther King III and Andrea Waters King on August 28th, which is the commemoration of the March on Washington of 1963. But we're in a place now where we need to recalibrate and realign and come together. So to learn more about that, you can go to marchonwashington2026.com, and I'll put some information in the chat, and we'll have other calls about that as well.
Thank you. And big shout out to our sister Ebony Riley, because we know she pours so much leadership into the March on Washington. Sister Rachel Norlander and Attorney Cluse, thank you so much for your advocacy. Thank you for standing in the gap. Thank you for coming to this platform and sharing with the sisters an update on both of these cases and what we can do. I do know that there is a link that we have, we'll drop in the chat for a defense fund. We know that there will be additional defense funds for both of these cases, but we do have a GoFundMe account. Many have asked, what can I do? How could I support? There is a GoFundMe for Nolan Wells's family, and we're going to drop that in the chat for you if you would like to support. And then we'll be coming back, whether it is on our email list or in other forums on our social, to share other ways that you can support the Carmelo Anthony case, and additional ways that you can continue to support Nolan Xavier Wells's family as well. Thank you so much for everything that you do. You're always welcome here at Win with Black Women. And Attorney Cluse, it is always a pleasure and an honor to have you, and the Crump Law Firm has always been a welcome a law firm here on the Win with Black Women calls, and we thank you. And Sister Rachel, it goes without saying, you are us and we are you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, sisters. There is a lot happening in our country. There's so much. As we transition, put in the chat if you are one of the 446 sisters that has participated in one of the 2 Power Up master classes that Win with Black Women has launched. Our first 2 classes with our sisters Leah Gowen and Ali Siegel on AI. Yes, I see you're in the chat. Yes. How did you like it? Was it great? Well, drum roll before we bring up our next speaker. We have an exciting announcement. So, as you know, we set out and we launched a Power Up series, which is an ongoing masterclass series in which we have real life meeting Zooms, not webinar sessions with Black women experts across pivotal topics. Now, our goal was to reach and touch 1,000 Black women across 7 critical issues. We know right now there is an aggressive impact of Black women that have been pushed out of the workforce. There's so much that's happening with the economy, and we thought it was important to talk and deep dive on critical areas, whether or not it's a critical area of AI or finance or mental health or emergency preparedness or how to organize in your community, which is coming down the pike. And our goal was to touch 1,000 women. We've only had 2 sessions, and we've already had 446 sisters that have participated. And we are excited. I know the flyer is about to come up. And go ahead and get yourselves ready, because we're getting ready to drop this link for our next class. It is a master class, and we have quite the expert that is coming. The class is on money moves. It is money. It's financial literacy in action. And we have the expert of experts, Tiffany, the Budgetnista Alicia, is going to be leading this masterclass. It is free of charge for everyone. We have 1,000 slots. There are 1,000 slots. This will be on August the 2nd. It's a Sunday night at 8:30 p.m. So it's not a regular Win with Black Women call. It will be our Power Up series masterclass. As you know, it is one hour and a half, and it is a master class. It is interactive. It's not a Zoom webinar. It's a Zoom meeting. You can raise your hand, and it's interactive. It is wonderful. And this is meant to dive deep with all of the resources and tools and tips for everything for budgeting, finance, what you need to know about all things money. There's a QR code. We have 1,000 slots. If you do not know Tiffany, the Budgetnista Alicia, she is an award-winning expert in all things finance. And this sister is a bad sister. She's helped pass laws in her home state of New Jersey. She is a nationally and internationally recognized expert on financial education and financial literacy. And she actually has amazing masterclasses where she dives deep on what you can actually do, where you have tools and workbooks and all of the greatness. And she's also an award-winning author as well. So we're going to keep dropping this in the chat. We have 1,000 slots. Hit your group chat. It's for any sister who wants to get on this. We will keep it open until we fill up the slots. August the 2nd at 8:30 p.m. We'll come back before announcements and we'll announce this again, but we ask that you share the link for you to register for this class. We have 1,000 slots. Tiffany said, I want to get as many as possible. Y'all know Zoom can only hold 1,000 people on a meeting, but she wanted to service as many. And as you know, the experts that do this series, they do it out of love, and they bring their expertise to the Win with Black Women community. So we are so excited to announce the next session. We hope that you will register, and we'll keep dropping this in the chat throughout the night. Please take that and share it. Sisters, it is so much of a treat to bring this next guest to you. I am so excited to bring Dr. Carrie Mitchell Brown to the stage. She is an author, an educator, and a voice for our community. And tonight we are so proud to lift up your latest work. We know that you have always poured into Black women and into revolutionary leadership. That is just who you are. And the title of your new book, Revolutionary Leadership, a Power Playbook for Black Women. Sis, y'all know what this is all about. Sis, support this book. We're going to drop this book. We're going to put this book out there, and we want you to tap into this book. Dr. Brown, welcome. You're not a stranger here. Welcome back to Win with Black Women. It is always a pleasure to have you.
It is always a pleasure to be here. We sat with some heavy truths tonight, and we needed to. As a mom of 4, it just tugs at my heart. What we hold for our families, our children, and our community. But before I say anything else, I want to thank you, Joteka, and I want to thank every woman who has built and sustained not a call, but this infrastructure of Win with Black Women. And to be counted as a part of this tonight means more than I can say. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well, thank you, sister. This platform, it belongs to all of us.
Yes.
I want to first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
I believe it's always, to me, Win with Black Women for me is always very spiritual, and everything is always divine. Like when we build the agenda, and there's an amazing team. Shout out to all of the sisters that help to lead and build and carry Win with Black Women. But when we build these calls, it's almost divine. When we look back at the finish, it's like, wow, all of it flows together. And I don't believe for any second that your book and the title of your book and the purpose of your book, it wasn't divine that we're discussing your book. Revolutionary Leadership, a Power Playbook for Black Women. I mean, we started off this call tonight, hearing the words of our sister Cook talking and echoing that we build anyway as Black women when she was talking about Simone Sanders' powerful words. We heard from Attorney General, our Assistant Attorney General Kristen Clarke, break down the courts, and she talked about and evoked. I think it was just powerful to have her having everything that she has done, but she talked about Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, revolutionary leadership. And then we just saw Attorney Cluse and Sister Rachel Norlander, the revolutionary leadership that they are leading, advocating for these cases. Could you talk to us about the inspiration behind writing this book, and particularly in this moment in time?
Absolutely. So let me start with something that I believe about every woman on this call, that you know a revolutionary path maker when you see her. She is a Black woman who creates a route when none exists, like all of the women that you were before me today. We don't just work in broken systems, we build new ways through it. We have been doing that since we got here because we've never had a choice. And let me say it plainly, I'm sitting in a room full of them right now. And, I spent 20 years proving it, not just studying it, practicing it inside of organizations the entire time. And here's why. About 23 years ago, I was recruited into a division of 200. I showed up with my MBA, and of the whole leadership team, only two of us had one, both Black women. The most credentialed people in that leadership were the two of us, and we had the least power in the room. Below us, there were so many more brilliant Black women, but none in leadership at all. And that's when I knew, that's when it was crystal clear to me that the story we had been told was a lie, a lie. And it was never about qualifications. And we talk about that here all the time. It's never about qualifications. We had those. It was about the systems that were built to see us. And so I got to work 20 years studying it, 2 studies, more than 600 of us, and doing the work inside of organizations because I was tired. And I know we are all tired of knowing our power and not having the receipts to prove it.
That's deeply powerful. And I think that is the story of so many Black women. I'm sure many
Absolutely.
sisters, it could tell the same story in the chat. When you wrote this book, as you were writing it, what were you thinking? Like, this is what I want the reader to walk away with. What was if there was 3 things that a sister or anybody who is reading this book, when they walk away from this book, what do you want them to walk away with?
I want them to walk away with one, a power play book for us, right? A redesigned manual for organizations, and more importantly, a record of leadership we have always practiced. It names the patterns most advice ignores, but I want to be honest with you, the book is not the destination. It's really a proof of concept for something bigger that's perfect for this room.
I love that. A proof of concept for something that is bigger.
Yes.
I
And
love that.
yeah, so
I
this
love
book
that.
is not the destination. The book is the door. And what
Mm,
I am building is an instrument, a way to measure how we actually lead, not the way that they think we lead, but how we actually do it. Because here's what happens to us. We walk into rooms that were built with a ruler that was never made to measure us.
mm.
And when we don't fit the ruler, they never question the ruler. They question us. And I'm like so many of you are done with that. So I'm building the tool that measures what we actually bring. Care as competency, community as infrastructure, collective power, the way that we have always led, finally giving it a number that institutions cannot argue with. And the data over the last 15 years already backs us up. My research, the way that we build relationships, the way that we align our work with our lives, and the communities we hold on to, and the communities that hold on to us. Those are among the strongest predictors of how successful we actually feel. It's not the org charts, it's not the title, it's not the money, it's us. So, yeah, I'm excited about it. But picture this with me. A Black woman walks into a company, and instead of being handed a mold that was never built for her, there is an instrument that shows the organization how to see her leadership clearly and hold them accountable to it. Like, that's the transformation. That's the transformation that's seated in this book. And we stop asking to be seen. We build things that make them to see us. And so again, the book is the door. This is what walks through it.
Wow, man, this is so powerful. Dr. Brown, thank you. Before you go, how can sisters find you, follow you, and where and how can sisters get their hands on a copy of this book tonight? I know
Yes.
we're gonna put it in the chat. It's a
Yes, we're
it's
gonna
a
put it
little
in the
bit of a
chat.
heat question because the answer is on
So,
the answer is in the chat, but I
yes,
want you to
it's in
say
the
it out
chat, but
loud.
I'm going to ask two things, and I'm not going to be shy about either one. The first, obviously, buy the book. I mean it plainly. It publishes August the 4th. The link is in the chat. Every pre-order tells the publisher that this book has a room waiting for it. Every copy is a door opening, so buy it. And buy one for a sister who needs it. And the bigger ask is the only one that this group of women can answer. I told you the book was a door, but I cannot walk through it by myself. I'm taking this work into organizations and institutions across this country, the ones that have always held power and the ones that we're building and sustaining ourselves. And those are the rooms that this book belongs in. And I'll never find them all on my own. So you know them, you're in them. Some of you have built them. So the second link is the chat, is I'm calling it Open the Room. Tell me your name, your email, one room that this work belongs in, and how you might help open that door. That's it. That's how you help me build. And because your time and your doors are worth something, everyone who fills it out reads the first chapter before this book reaches the world on August the 4th. My thank you for building this with me. And you can find me at Revolutionary Lead on Instagram and Threads, at Revolutionary Lead on LinkedIn, Dr. Carrie Mitchell Brown. And I'm going to stay in this with you. We were never behind. We were never the problem. We were the blueprint the whole time. And tonight I am sitting in a room full of the proof. So let's go build the rest of this together. Everything's in the chat. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I love it. I love it. Thank you, Dr. Carrie Mitchell Brown. Sisters, follow her, pre-order this book, and open a door. If there is a room or a space where you can open a door, Dr. Brown has said, fill out that form, give her your name, your information, and she's going to send you chapter 1 of the book, and you get to read chapter 1 before anybody else gets to see it. We love it when we get Win with Black Women exclusives here, Dr. Brown. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Sisters, revolutionary leadership, a power playbook for Black women. Sisters, we're going to keep going right in our agenda. Now, primary season has been busy. I know there's a lot of news that is happening in the world of politics, particularly coming out of South Carolina. So there is a lot that has happened. We know that primary season was very, very busy. And guess what, y'all? It's no coincidence. I mean, we knew this was going to happen. There's a whole lot of Black women on the ballot right now. And we're always so happy to have our sister Holly Holiday to break it down for us. Sister Holly, there's a whole lot of Black women on the
There's a whole lot of Black women out here. And, you know, we don't talk about them too much, but let me just do a quick shout out and say, it's a whole lot of Black men too. Now, y'all should check out, y'all should check them out. Now, I ain't gonna tell you about them tonight, but y'all should check them out. We got some Black men running in some really powerful places and have made it through the primary for governor, for senator, and lots of big historic spaces. But tonight is about the ladies.
That is right. That is right. Over to you. So now I do gotta say, the state of South Carolina, you know, we do got a brother at the top of the ticket. A Black man.
That's why I knew I had to say something, because I know my audience. Okay, I know my audience. I knew.
And Sister Christina Q, you know, she in the back. She might be in the background, but you know, she's South Carolina through and through.
Listen, we got them all across the country, but tonight we're gonna focus on the ladies. So let's get into it. So first of all, before you ask, let me go ahead and make sure that you know that this slide deck is available in the resource center right now. Somebody can make it active for me if you would. But it is a resource available. You can download it for yourself. I know you want it. I know I make sure that you have it. And I know it will also be available in the notes. So you don't even have to ask that question, sisters. I got you. I got you. I got you. Also, I just want to note that it's a whole lot happening in June, a whole lot of elections happening, a lot of runoff, but we're just going to, and a whole lot happen in the primaries overall. I'm going to deal with the big races because, frankly, we don't want to be here all night. But I will do a deeper dive report that will be available for all states following the primaries in August. Until then, let's do this. I want to make sure, because we also had a whole lot of Win with Black Women on the ballot. And so if you were on the ballot and you won your race, please drop that in the chat. Let folks know that you will be proceeding on to the general election in your race. Everybody who will be on the general election ballot, if you're on this call tonight, go ahead and shout out your name, what you're running for, and go ahead and put your website on. Why not? Let's let people know that Win with Black Women is up and down the ballot. But tonight, I'm going to focus on 28 noteworthy outcomes from the primaries, because these races really represent a shift not just in representation, but really moving to a governance type strategy. And so, again, focusing on 28 of these 28, I'm thinking about offices of historical significance, high level of competitiveness. They upset the status quo, and they were prominent in outcome. This is not about their biography. This is about their impact. And I see those primary races coming through. We see you, we see you, we see you. I have both Keisha and Brenda on my list from previous races, but go ahead and put it on there. I do want to note a caveat in California, because while most states run in party primaries, meaning Republican versus Democrat and so forth, California's top two system advances the two highest vote getters regardless of party. And so the 5 California candidates that we're talking about tonight are counted as advancing to the general election and not as formal party nominees. So just recognize, California, they like to set the stage and do things a little bit different. But we got some great Black women serving in California we're going to talk about. All right, so let's talk about some of these things. Well, first of all, we're going to talk about Congress, but beyond Congress, we saw Secretary of State nomination in Georgia and California that put election administration in play. We saw comptrollers, and treasurers in Maryland, California, Nevada, and South Carolina. We had labor and education representation, particularly in Georgia, which was the runoff, which is why it is in June, because they had a June 16th runoff, as well as the superintendent of public instruction in South Carolina and Oklahoma. And then finally, boy, did we see stuff pop in counties and city halls, especially Fulton County, Howard County, Prince George's County, and let's talk about the mayor's race in Washington, D.C. So we know that a lot of that stuff was happening also and was definitely part of what we are talking about tonight. Where did we have runoffs? We had runoffs in June in California, in New Jersey, in New Mexico, in South Carolina, in Nevada. We had Georgia runoffs. We had DC, Oklahoma, New York, Maryland, and Colorado. So I'm primarily going to be focusing on those states. I do want to note you won't hear too much about New Jersey because, as you all are very well aware, a lot of their state and local elections happen in the odd years, not the even years. So theirs is primarily about Congress and federal elections. All right, I have, out of the 28, I want to talk about 10 big ones because they made some history moments, and I may get their names wrong because I'm super excited, but y'all can see the names on the screen. And by the way, go ahead and grab the PowerPoint for yourself, and then you can share it around. So first in Colorado, Millet Kairos, who is Ethiopian in her ethnicity. Basically, this was a powerhouse. 29 years old, first candidate, and unseated Diana DeJette after 30 years. If she is elected, she will be Colorado's first Black woman in Congress. So shout out to our sisters in Colorado. Let's see how we can support her. Darzila Avalar Chavarle, who won in New York 13, U.S. House, defeated 5-term incumbent In a solid Democratic district, she is definitely one of the cycle's clearest insurgent upsets, excuse me. Definitely one on the kind of popular, soon, slowly becoming more popular Democratic socialist bandwagon. Vanessa Atterbury in Maryland becomes the top contender. She won in a contentious four-way primary and is on track to be Howard County's first Black woman county executive. We always do good by Black women in the District of Columbia, and this election is no exception. Shout out to Janice Lewis George, who won decisively, even after Trump publicly threatened a federal takeover if she prevailed. At this point, she is going into November uncontested. Penny Brown Reynolds from Georgia won her runoff with approximately 63% on voting rights and election integrity. Georgia has never elected a Black Secretary of State, so this may be the first time. Taya Mathis Coleman is running for state treasurer in Nevada, and like Georgia, Nevada has never elected a Black woman to a statewide elected office, and so this puts that nomination well in reach. Let's move on. We got some more folks to talk about. Nikki Porcher, Labor Commissioner in Georgia, Air Force veteran and nonprofit founder, won her runoff election with about 61% of the vote. This will make her Georgia's first Black woman labor commissioner should she prevail in November. Mo Ivory, Georgia, Fulton County Commission chair, capturing 66% of the vote and unseating Rob Pitts, who was a fixture in Atlanta politics for more than 4 decades. Black women are coming up and coming up strong. Let's talk about Tiffany Boozer and Sylvia Wright in South Carolina. These two nominations are from the same first. No Black woman has ever held a statewide executive office position in South Carolina. And guess what? November could be the change where we see this happen. And of course, Adrienne Adams, Lieutenant Governor in New York, one general election away from being New York's first Black woman lieutenant governor on the state's first all-woman gubernatorial ticket. Listen, 3 of these wins unseated entrenched incumbent. 6 put Black women 1 election away from having been the first in her state to ever do it, and we hold the power. Let's keep moving. I want to say a special shout out to some other firsts. We talk about Georgia, first Black woman governor in history. She's possibly on the ballot. Possibly she's on the ballot. Keisha Lance Bottom has a ability to take that first. We already talked about Georgia and the Secretary of State and the first labor commissioner. We also talked about South Carolina. How about Maryland with the first Black elective officer statewide, as well as Howard County exec? First woman in Nevada, New York, Colorado, South Carolina, and let's talk about New Mexico, which could be the first Black woman to represent that state in Congress. Okay, I know y'all are really excited. Let's just talk. I just want to spend just a minute. I'm not going to go through this in depth, but I do want to note here, shout out to Georgia. Shout out to Black women in Georgia. Yes, yes, yes. We know about Juliana Stratton in Illinois, but we're talking about June races today. So just keep that in mind. Georgia has the deepest bench. We got Black women up, down, and all around in both statewide and congressional races and important county seats as well. So if we don't turn out the vote in Georgia, shame on us. Finally, I just want to note that we do have an open map. There are 8 contests where no outcomes sort of met my threshold here. And I just want to note that we still have seats. I know it's crazy to think of this, but we still have many opportunities and seats where we have never seen a Black woman serving, from New Mexico to Iowa to Montana to South Dakota. And yet we are seeing more and more Black women serving in local and down ballot elections, which gives me hope that there is, in fact, a bench and that we are rising everywhere. The one thing that I want to leave you with is that this is more important than just the 28 that I'm featuring today. Here's the thing that I want to note for you. Despite everything they throw at us, despite the redistricting, despite the court decisions, despite the mis and disinformation, Black women are still showing up to lead. They need our support. They need our support. So I want each and every one of you, and that's one of the reasons why Sisters Lead, Sisters Vote, as well as Win with Black Women, is dedicated to ensuring that we register and turn out 1 million new Black voters. So this is why. You all want to know why? This is why. This is our why, because Black women are not only defending congressional seats, we are breaking into and standing in the threshold. We want to see more of the things that we talk about on this call happen in real life. We need to elect people who represent our values and who represent our point of view in elections, not just in any elections, but specifically in offices that control elections, that control state finances, that control labor policy, education, county government, and major executive power. The reason that I featured a lot of these women is not just because they've made it through the primary and beat incredible odds, but they made it through the primary in races that are going to be the people who have the power to not just decide about whether or not we have a seat at the table, but whether or not but also to decide what's on the menu, who gets served, and whether or not the table needs to be rebuilt. I end with this. Election officers are now on the front line. We need you to show up, and we need you to help make sure that everybody else shows up. These upsets were not a fluke. This was not a one-time activity. This was a strategic goal and plan that we have been cultivating and working on for many years. And those of you who've been with Win with Black Women since day one know that we are nearly 6 years in the game of building our power and our strength. But we are not done, and we have more to do, which means that November is when we really need you to show up next. But don't worry, I'll be back in September probably to talk about what happened in August, because we do have August primary still to come. But for now, that takes care of June. I hope I have both inspired and encouraged you. We have to get out, because I don't want anybody on this call to ever say, one, we don't have a plan, because we do. Two, that we don't have powerful Black women that are standing in the gap to represent us. And three, that we don't have power to make it all happen, and much, much more. Joteka, I'm done. I send it back to you.
You have brought the joy and the information. And I think one thing that congratulations to every single sister in this chat. There has been so many websites. So many of you are on the general ballot. Congratulations to you. I think also what's powerful, we were looking at all of those races that you were highlighting. I just remember so many of them have come on a Win with Black Women call in other capacities, whether or not it's been Courtney McLean, who was leading a fight at the University of South Carolina, when they tried to do some ugliness to our forever vice president. And that young student, she was an alumni that was fighting the racism and sexism on that campus. And now to see that she's poised to have an upset, to be one of the youngest and the first Black woman in Congress in South Carolina, and so many historic firsts that
That's
we
right.
continue to see. I think it's a constant reminder that despite, as you say, everything that they're throwing against us, we are still showing up, we are still leading, and we are also still winning.
That's
That is
right.
something that we cannot lose sight of. And big shout out to
Absolutely.
the 700, at least 700 of you that have signed up to be circle leaders.
Oh, we're over 1,000 now. I didn't provide an update. Yeah,
Oh, we got 1,000 sisters.
we have nearly 1,200 sisters that have signed up to be circle leaders. And so we are also registering people. I'll have to come back and give an update on that. Today, I was focused on this election that I'm really excited about. But listen, we have to vote. And we have to remind people of this kind of information so they understand that their vote does matter. Some of these races, I talked about some of the landslides, but some of these races were separated by 10 votes, 9 votes, 50 votes. That means we have the power just even on this call to make a huge difference.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Sister Holly. We look forward to having you back in September with more Black women on the ballot. And you can maybe talk about some of the brothers too. We'll reserve one slide for the brothers. Sisters, we are so excited for this next segment. It is a new segment that we have put in place, and it is highlighting our Black women in business. We are always excited because so many of you are leading and launching businesses, and amazing, whether or not you have businesses that are consumer facing or a tech platform, which we're going to hear about. We want to create a space here at Win with Black Women where you can talk about your business, where we can pour into your business, understand more about your business, how we can support your business on the larger more grand scale of what do you need to take your business to the next level. And also, how can we just know about your business or your product and support it? Well, this next sister is coming up I am claiming that this sister has the next billion-dollar tech platform. Myself as an investor and someone that has been in Silicon Valley, she is a welcome breath of fresh air to all things Silicon Valley and AI. Let's welcome Isosa Osa. I love you. Girl, I love your name because it's just, you say you're going to tell us your middle name at some point because it's going to round it out. But Isosa is the founder and CEO of Onyx Impact, which is a nonprofit research, education, and digital innovation hub dedicated to empowering Black communities and countering information threats that undermine our progress. But she is here to talk about her latest invention, launch, this amazing company. I think you all have heard about her, Aisha. For those of you who have said, where is the AI platform for us? Or sometimes these AI platforms don't get us. Well, Aisha is an AI-powered assistant built from the ground up to center Black sources, Black history, and Black lived experience. It's a direct and an antidote to the bias that we have seen in a lot of the AI platforms. And in just the first 2 weeks, Aisha has blown so many other launches out of the water with tens of thousands of downloads and users on the Aisha platform. First of all, sis, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome to Win with Black Women. I want to get right into it. Tell us, well, we understand the necessity and the need for Aisha, but really, what was the inspiration for you as a founder? Because it's always helpful to understand the founder story. Tell us your founder story.
So, and thank you, Joteka, for that amazing introduction, and for everyone on this amazing call today. The inspiration behind Aisha came again from, founding and running Onyx Impact, right? Our nonprofit mission is to amplify Black voices and protect Black communities in an era of disinformation. And we spent, as information experts, years, right, researching, creating tools for Black communities to fight disinfo, the Digital Green Book, the Blackout Report, the Information Integrity Lab, what have you. And one of the clearest conclusions that we reached was that the most powerful tool, the most powerful information tool of our generation, AI, was being handed to Black communities in a form that actively harmed them. And in an era of propaganda, as we've talked about on this call, when the most powerful tool of a generation is being built against us in many ways, right? That's a democracy problem, that's an information problem, that's a mis and disinformation problem. And so we decided to do something about it. And we know that AI is determining right now our reality, our information, our understanding of information, right? Is determining so much of what we believe to be true, shaping our social media, our healthcare, shaping who gets hired, what have you. And so we decided over a year ago to bring on a Black-led AI engineering team to prioritize, to start from the beginning on an open source model on Black history, Black news, Black progress, right? Instead of accidentally, making a Nazi and then having to put guardrails around it, right? What if you just, didn't do that, right? What if you just started with, hey, can you have a basic level of respect for humans? Can you understand what Black scholarship look like, Black history looks like, what have you? And we were, after a year of that work, and being intentional on things like the environment, being intentional on things like privacy, right? We don't take any of your data. We don't train on any of your conversations. Our engineers can't actually see your conversations. We don't need that. We launched Aisha, like you said, a little over 2 weeks ago. And as of today, we are at over 100,000 users a day.
Say that again, sis. Say it again. 2 weeks. How many users a day?
It is humbling to say this. I'm not gonna, we are at over 100,000 users a day of Aisha, a number that is, to say that it has blown us away. I think we were hoping for 5,000 users in the first week or so. Has been unbelievable. We knew that there was a gap. We knew that this was something we could fill. And we were so focused on making sure that we could put out a product that worked well, that worked consistently, that worked for everyone that needed to use it, and that centered Black experiences in a way that has never been done before. You ask Aisha about interactions with the police, you're going to get a very different answer than you would get from a chat, from a Claude, from a what have you. You ask Aisha about the economy, she'll tell you, what's going on in the economy, but she'll also tell you what's going on for Black folks without you having to ask or specify, right? In just the same way that other AIs center whiteness by default. And this is, one of the most foundational kind of lies of this whole new AI reality is that AI is neutral, right? AI is technology, and technology mimics, mirrors the values of its creators, the biases of its creators, the blind spots of its creators. And so it is not as if we have not been using a biased product over and over and over and over again. Aisha is our response to it. Aisha is the beginning of our answer to it. And, this has been a wild and incredibly inspirational process, right? We didn't know how much it would mean to people that we were so intentional about the environment, right? Our data centers are located in Vancouver, Toronto, and Montreal. And we chose those cities because they had the cleanest energy grids in all of North America, right? To show that we can actually do this in a way that wasn't intentionally harming Black communities. And so we are, as I said, humbled, excited, we believe that Black folks should be the architects, the builders, the shapers, not just of our culture, but of our information. And so, I would love for folks to go to Aisha.ai, download the app, check it out for yourself. You'll get a feed of Black news straight up. Like that's how we open the app to you. And, we don't summarize these articles, right? We are very dedicated to partnering with Black news and Black media. You click on the article, it takes you within the app, and it takes you to the website so that the Black news gets the revenue, they get the traffic, they get everything as you're looking through. And so highly would love for folks not just to download the app. You can also just go into the App Store and type in Aisha, whatever works for you. But, rate it, review it, do whatever. But we're really excited about what the information opportunity is for our community with this app. So I'll stop there, but I'm just like, it's incredible, really.
I'm literally just like, as a Black woman that spent so much of my time and career in Silicon Valley, like it's so hard to put words on around what you have been able to accomplish. Like, these numbers are very these are not the numbers that people often see when you launch. Like, you're happy if you get proof of concept, you got an MVP, you got 5,000 people are testing. You have 100,000 users per day. That is so amazing. I want to ask, I know I've been getting text messages, folks are saying, are you accepting investment? Are you accepting investment from accredited investors? What do you need? We know we want people to download Aisha, but are there other ways that this network of sisters can support and propel your business to the next stratosphere?
So right now, to your point, this is a proof of concept moment, right? And so we do really need as much sharing of Aisha.ai as possible to show that this growth can continue. So that's first and foremost. Aisha is a wholly owned subsidiary of Onyx Impact, right? And so you can donate to Aisha by donating to Onyx Impact, really, right? Any dollar that Aisha may generate in revenue in the future will have to go to charitable purposes for Onyx Impact's mission to protect Black communities and amplify Black voices, right? And so to invest directly is to invest in Onyx Impact, and we're super proud of that, because that means that we are a nonprofit. It is not our goal to sell a product, right? That's why Aisha is free. It is our goal to forward our mission, right, in a way, and we can focus on making the best product for Black communities, for all communities, really, and worry about those other things as they come. But don't tell my AI team that, because they really.
I love it. I love it. Well, sister, thank you so much. And how can we follow you and all of your great work? Because Onyx Impact, if you are not following Onyx Impact's reports and they're telling us what's happening on social and just mis and disinformation, but also what's resonating, they're absolutely informative and imperative to the movement. The role that you play in our movement is one that is critical and is at the center of so much of what is needed right now. So how can we follow you? How can we follow Onyx Impact? And we all know, and everybody said they are downloading Aisha.
I love.
You're going to get a lot of win with Black women sisters that are downloading this app. Some sisters have said they've been using it all week.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Please do continue to download, to rate, to review. All of those things are so helpful. You can follow us at the Onyx Impact across platforms, the Onyx ONYX Impact, and you'll be seeing us posting all about Aisha. You can follow me at Isosa_Osa, one across Instagram, TikTok, what have you, and just for y'all to know that my middle name is actually Nosa.
I love it.
That's
We
what
got
is on my
another
driver's
win
license.
with
Yes.
Black women exclusive tonight. Oh my goodness. So
Don't be telling people my government, like the whole thing. That's just for Win with
that's
Black
for
women.
us. Okay.
Yeah.
Love it. You know what? I love it. I love the creativity and just the specialness of the sisters that grace this stage. Sis, you are a treasure to the culture. You are a treasure to the movement. You are so brilliant, and we are so blessed. Congratulations on just a historic launch. I am convinced that, 5 years from now, we'll be reading about the billion-dollar valuation that Aisha has, and that everybody is scrambling to try to figure out how they can connect more with Aisha. And I'm just super excited that it will be powered for good, and knowing that it has been built in the manner in which you build it, it just brings us so much joy. You go, girl. Everybody, let's download Aisha and follow Onyx Impact. Thank you, sis.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Well, sisters, we are almost at the end of our agenda, but we are not leaving until we are able to celebrate. This month is Disability Pride Month. And here at Win with Black Women, we love to celebrate the diversity of all of the sisters that are a part of Win with Black Women. And today we are so excited to have with us to help us understand better Disability Pride Month and understand the importance of lifting up this important conversation are two sisters who have been a part of Win with Black Women for a very, very long time. Let us welcome our good sister, Nona Florence and Monica Wiley, who are both disability rights advocates who bring not only a lived experience, but also community expertise in the fight for accessible voting and full inclusion of disabled Black women in our movement spaces. I am so excited. Welcome, Sister Nona, and welcome, Sister Monica. Thank you. Welcome. You're not a stranger here. Y'all are Win with Black Women OGs. And y'all hold down the after hours too. So first of all, welcome and thank you for helping us celebrate and shed light on Disability Pride Month. I want to ask and start off, on paper, federal law guarantees accessible voting in practice. What does early voting or election day voting at the polls actually look like for Black disabled voters in your community, and where does the system break down first?
Nona, I will yield to you for the first part of the question. I can answer the second part so that we won't be duplicating, although it does tend to overlap, but I yield to you, Sister Nona, so you take it away.
Okay, so I live in the District of Columbia, and it is probably easier here than in other parts of the country. In the DMV, DC, Maryland, Northern Virginia, it's probably easier. But what I will say is that the system breaks down for us worse when it breaks down for everybody else. So, for example, a lot of disabled Americans have to use mail-in ballots. Mobility can be a challenge. And so if there are threats to mail-in voting, then you're going to find things worse. This is not happening here in DC, but we are hearing in other parts of the country voter suppression laws saying that you can only limiting how many people you can take to the polls, limiting those types of things. And so if you're a person with a disability, you have to rely on friends and family to get you to the polls. So when you have these levels of voter suppression, it's definitely going to impact the disability community probably harder. So when you save voting for everybody else, you definitely save voting for Americans with disabilities. And when you protect accessibility, you protect, because, for example, if it's a non-working elevator, if there are no ramps, if people can't get interpreters. My cousin, for example, is deaf in another part of the country. She went to vote. The people wouldn't look at her, so she couldn't lip read, and she actually walked away without voting because she was so frustrated. So and also, if your everyday life is hard, which it is for people with disabilities, then sometimes voting isn't even something you think about, because when you're just trying to put food on the table, because Americans with disabilities are often paid less than other people, sometimes by law. So when you're struggling to put food on the table, voting is sometimes an afterthought.
Wow. Thank you for that, Nona. That's a very deep perspective, and thank you for sharing your cousin's real life experience. I think sometimes once we hear a real story, then it's like, oh wow, this is happening across the country. Monica, I want you to jump in there as well.
Yes, let me chime in. And so I'm going to come to it from the policy standpoint. Nona has a very good point talking about her cousin and how they didn't want to look at her. But see, this is where a lot of election officers and poll officers make the mistake in terms of helping voters with disabilities, because there are laws in place that they don't know about and that they should know about. And one is the Voting Accessibility for Elderly and Handicapped Act, which was passed in 1984. That came after the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. So voting federally is a federal program that is funded and requires accessibility. When you have the voting of the Eligibility and Handicap Act in place, that allows individuals like Nona's cousin can request to move to the front of the line so that she can go and vote. But then I want to talk to just a few seconds here about how it became even more of a greater support system for voters with disabilities, because the Voting Rights Act, when it was reauthorized in 1985, Section 208 then allowed voters with disabilities that were blind or could not read for them to be able to take a support person with them, to able to assist them. As long as it was not an employer or a union rep, they had that right to vote. They had that right to have a person to assist them with voting. Election officers and poll officers, they tend to not understand that, or either they're not being provided that knowledge. And so that becomes a barrier for voters with disabilities. And so when we honor the 36th anniversary of the ADA, because that was a game changer, that was very significant for individuals with disabilities, not just voting on the federal level, but on the local and state level as well. And I'm just going to share a quick story of mine. When I became disabled on December 10th, 1989, it was caused by a drunk driver that killed my entire family at the age of 9. I did not have any civil rights protections in terms of being a voter in the state, until 7 months later, on July 26, 1990, when we then had the Americans with Disabilities Act. So I tell people all the time, it may not necessarily impact you now, and I pray that that you don't become disabled anytime soon, but it can happen at the drop of a dime at any given moment, because it happened to me at the age of 9. So it's very important that we make sure that we have allies and accomplices to support the movement. As you know, we are Black women that are in this fight in disability rights, but we also need other Black women that are not a part of the disability community to support us, like they did with Brad Lomax when he was part of the Black Panther movement. He was disabled. They jumped and helped him immediately to help challenge what was taking place over in California when they didn't want to support the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. We had Fannie Lou Hamer, who had polio at 2, and she was on the front lines fighting, became disabled again when she was in jail for her trying to make sure that she does voter registration for our community. But yet everyone came and championed around her to make sure that that fight continues. That is what we need. And that is why we're here. And that is why we acknowledge, we honor this civil rights legislation as the ADA in July.
You better speak. Monica, you got the whole chat. The chat is, you got the snaps. I want to talk about Calais versus Louisiana because a lot of folks talk about the redistricting, but it also had an impact on disability rights and voting. Can you talk about that as well, both of you?
Well, I think the biggest thing with Calais and the redistricting is simply because the protections are no longer there. And that's just the biggest thing. The protections are no longer there, and you are having states being allowed to pretty much set their own rules. And I believe it was Representative Clyburn who said states' rights are oftentimes the opposite of civil rights. Because if you're living in a state like Maryland or a state like California, and the state chooses to protect you, then you're fine. If you're living in a state like Louisiana, South Carolina, Texas, and the state chooses not to protect you, then you're not protected. And so it's often, unfortunately, your zip code, unfortunately, will determine your rights. And so that's the biggest thing. You no longer have those federal protections. And we've talked about mis and disinformation all night. And so if people are not aware of what their rights are, somebody can come in with their cousin to help them vote. And if that person in that polling place wants to lie to you and say, oh, it's against the law to have somebody help you vote, and you don't know, then, you're going to walk away without voting. And the law just isn't there.
It does. I think this reminds me of the Shelby versus Holder back in 2013 with Alabama. And Section 2, basically to sum it up, was to eliminate racial gerrymandering, right? That's what it was about, to make sure that there was at least between 1 or 2 majority-minority districts. When you think about the people with disabilities, particularly Black people with disabilities, we are the minority, right? And so if this continues to take place, especially with, and I'm going to go ahead on for those of you who may not know, they're trying to overturn the Olmstead decision, which allows individuals with disabilities to live in the community and not in congregated settings. So if that is overturned, because that took place on June 22nd, 1999, when it was passed for us to be able to live in the community, if they reverse that, that is definitely going to minimize the number of individuals with disabilities that will be allowed to vote, because it's already difficult to go into the nursing homes now to register voters, register potential voters with disabilities. So it is very imperative that we make sure that we know about the importance of protecting Section 2 and how this definitely does impact Louisiana versus Cali when it comes to Black women and Black voters with disabilities. Because if they get the chance, if the Supreme Court does get the chance to reverse that Olmstead decision, we will see even greater barriers as it pertains to people with disabilities. And that has a significant impact on Section 2.
Well, sisters, we can talk all night. I think we can have a whole lot of conversation. I think, and a lot of sisters are saying in the chat, wow, they hadn't really thought about this. And that is why this platform exists. And we are so grateful for you, sisters. We've just had a night of Win with Black Women OGs that have been gracing the stage. But it's so important before you leave. What is it that you would want, whether or not it's about voting or not, but just really about disability rights, and Black women that are at the center of advocacy, because it's so important. It's so center and so important. What do you want the sisters that are on this call, that are all over the country tonight, what do you want them to do in not just in this month, but particularly in this month, but ongoing, to support Black women that are not only at the forefronts of the disability rights movement, but that are impacted in any way in this country?
Well, I would say that one of the things that I think about all the time is one of the things in our community, and this is a great start, and I am so almost choked up that Win with Black Women is bringing this issue to the forefront and being inclusive, but oftentimes the intersection of race and disability is not discussed. And so oftentimes what happens is, if I'm in Black spaces, I have to minimize my disability. And then when I'm in disability spaces, I have to minimize my Blackness, because oftentimes in our community, pushing through is seen as a benefit. Masking is seen as a benefit. We often do the respectability politics. So you often have to mask disability. I happen to be someone who's on the autism spectrum. There are things about autism that just are not understood in our community, right? Or any type of disability. I have a friend who is deaf, but she has to lip read and speak, and has to almost hide the fact that she's deaf. You know, oftentimes Black spaces are not always accessible. And then the only way to get support is to go to the disability spaces that are not always going to look like us, or not always have the cultural competency. And so I think it's really important for Black people to, and if you, of course, we're seeing more and more of it. It's becoming more popular, but we as a community have to kind of change our framework around disability, and change our framework around allowing people to bring their whole self to the space. It's crazy that I have to mask my disability in a lot of Black spaces, and then turn around and mask my Blackness in a lot of non-Black disability spaces. And you get tired both ways, to be honest with you. So I think that's something that that our community needs to kind of grasp. I was at church, and I couldn't even go to the church community picnic because they put it 3,000 miles away, and forgot about the fact that those of us who had to use Metro Access couldn't get all the way out there. And if I have to tell my pastor one more time to get a church van with the lift without yelling and screaming. So I think that our community just has to do a better job of
being aware.
Being aware and understanding that.
That's so powerful. Oh, what you say really touches in terms of the duality of having to mute any aspect of who you are, and the need for all of us to be able to show up our whole selves. Sister Monica.
I won't be before you long. I just want to echo what Nona said. She's absolutely correct. When you have a non-visible disability, it's even harder for those in my community to have to mask that, because in the beginning, disability or in a lot of times disability was just all white face. And so for those of us that were Black, it was very hard for us to shift the way that disability is viewed in terms of just a combination, because the disability community is a cross disability community. So we definitely need to we definitely need to change the way that disability is being viewed, not just in the disability space, but also in non-disability spaces. As a person with a physical disability, I cannot cover mine up, right? Because I walk with a cane and I use a scooter. And I think, Joteka, I saw you last year when I was at a board meeting for United Spinal, and I said, hey, Joteka, we definitely need to do a little bit more of intersectional of having Black women with disabilities coupled with Black women that are not disabled, because of the mere fact that there are so many of us that are out here that you all do not know, that we are out here doing the work, that we are making changes, that we are policy makers, we are doing exceptional work in entertainment, we are authors, we are athletes, we are all of these things. And so to sum all of this up, it is very imperative that we definitely do a better job of bringing us together. We need you to not just be an ally and say, oh yeah, let's acknowledge the anniversary of '88. We need you to say, and yes, let's have Nona and Monica or Carrie Gray, several of these other prominent, amazing Black women that are doing some great work that are disabled, that can also talk about the intersectional of disability and disability rights and disability justice. And so I close with that.
And not only that, all the topics. Across the board, not just in the box. We want you just to talk about disability rights, but voting rights or entertainment or technology, because those of our sisters, particularly Black women, that also have the intersectionality of disability are also leading in every single area. You have blessed us all tonight. If you could see the chat, everybody is saying this was so informative, that it was enlightening, and it was a powerful discussion, and you brought great points. I'm reading the chat to the table. Thank you so much, Sister Nona, Sister Monica. And I remember when we were together. I know where we were. I was actually, I believe I was in Tampa, I believe. I was actually spending some time with our AKA sisters. I believe, I think I was at their regional conference.
Sister Joteka, you know, one of the things that I wanted to say, I guess publicly, is it is so refreshing to have a space where intersectionality is brought to the table. And I will say that Win with Black Women has probably been the most inclusive space for me from the very get-go. You know, from Win with Black Women DC, shout out Win with Black Women DC, but the national level, and in fact, you know, when Holly called me to lead one of the committees for 1 million Black voters, that was really one of the very first times that somebody from a national organization had seen that. So I do want to give, you know, credit where credit is due, because even though there's a lot of work to do in the Black community about disability, I do want to give credit where credit is due, because making the attempt and being genuine about it is the first step.
Thank you for that. And this space has been and will always be for all Black women, because we truly believe here at Win with Black Women, we win when we're connected. We win when we see each other. We win when we lift each other up. And we win. And when we win, we believe America wins, our families and those that we care about, and our communities win too. So thank you so much for helping us win tonight, Sister Nona and Sister Monica. Thank you so much for your incredible leadership. And we hope that you will come back and share some more with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Well, sisters, we have come to the end of our agenda. And before we bring up Sister Chantel Mullen and I hand it over to her, I want to put back up on the screen an announcement for our Power Up series with Sister Tiffany, the Budgetnista Alicia. August the 2nd at 8:30. There are 1,000 slots. There are 1,000 slots. We're going to drop it in the chat. We want you to register. We want you to share it. Our goal was to reach 1,000 Black women with the entire series. We've already had 446 women in our masterclass, our first 2 masterclasses, which was on AI. And Tiffany said she want to open it up for 1,000 slots. So we might just hit our entire goal with our next session in just 3 sessions. Money moves, financial literacy in action. Y'all, you don't want to miss this. If you don't know Tiffany, the Budgetnista Alicia, she is an internationally renowned expert on all things money and finance, and she is amazing. And she is doing a masterclass at no cost to win with Black women. It is for Black women by us. We are hoping that you will register, that you will share the link with your networks and your community. And we are so excited about this. And I am now excited to pass over to our good sister, Chantel Mullen, for our announcements and closeout.
Hi, Joteka. Good
Hello.
evening. You know, I got a bunch of announcements tonight. So hold tight, because sisters are doing a whole lot of things. So here we go. And we can go to our next slide. Just a reminder, our next meeting, we're not coming back until August, everybody, August the 30th. So mark that on your calendar. You know, we're always going to use that bit.ly Sunday call link, or you can use the QR code to register for the call. Just a reminder that we're going to have an NCNW, yes, National Convention. It is in October. This is a save the date. Join our Sisters of the Purple as they gather in October for their National Convention. Guess what we are going to have? Lots of volunteers. You know, last year we talked about the annual legislative conference that is held by the CBC Foundation. You know what? It's about that time. But this year, they have lots of volunteer opportunities. So, have you been to CBC? Yeah. Do you want to volunteer? This may be your year. They need registration, room monitors, social media, participant support. You never know what room you are going to be in if you serve as a volunteer. But you know what? If we're volunteering, what does that also mean? It means that it is time to register for the annual legislative conference. And guess what? Registration is now open. So you can go to the link, you can go ahead and register. And you know, some of those events, they have some ticketed events. They sell out pretty quickly. So if you are interested in those events, you may want to go ahead and click that registration link. Don't be like me last year and register at the last minute and miss the early bird price. So, you know, I just want to remind you about a couple of other things. The CBCF puts on a great annual legislative conference. That legislative conference, you actually can be in the room and be talking with the members of the Black Caucus. But they also have some other resources that we need to know about and think about, because the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation is doing some great work. And I just wanted to lift this work up for just a second. They have an executive order tracker, and they are tracking all of the executive orders that are coming out of this current administration. And they're talking about how they impact the Black community. We often talk about, we don't know how it impacts the Black community. Well, the CBCF tracker of those executive orders does just that. They also just released Forward Together, a Black policy playbook for an equitable America. And we hear people talk about, well, where is the policy? Here's the policy, folks. They're talking about health. They're talking about jobs. They're talking about voting rights. They are doing some deep research. We should be reading this. We should be sharing it with our communities. So I just wanted to take a moment and lift up those resources. And then lastly, they not just researching, they're having a little bit of fun. So they're having a cookout on July the 18th. There's a RSVP. If you happen to be nearby, go and have a little bit of fun with the CBCF Alumni Network as they're celebrating the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation's impact. Because you know what? The Congressional Black Caucus Foundation is 50 years old this year. That is a milestone. And so go on over to the cookout. As always, our good sister Soul Spice is having her free Soulful Colorful retreat. It will be happening on July the 18th, 8 a.m. Pacific time, 11 a.m. Eastern time. She has invited me and Holly. We're gonna get on over there, girl. It's early, but we're gonna get on to one of Soul Spice's colorful retreats. And always a good time is had by all when they join her. Next, we have our Federal Workers Initiative led by our good sister, Jennifer Jones. Their next convening will be August the 3rd. And so they meet August the 3rd, 7 p.m. You can use the bit.ly link to register. Jennifer is doing good work in supporting our federal workers. Just a reminder about our good sisters over at Higher Heights. They are having a virtual Sunday brunch where they are bringing in sisters who are in politics and talking about issues all across the spectrum. And so they do this from 2 to 3 p.m. And these are all of the dates. So you can use that link and register for Sunday brunch so that you can get your political meal prep and, listen to some great sisters talk about policy and politics. Just want to remind you about Freedom Summer. Our good folks over at allroadsleadtothesouth.com, they have a ton of events. As you can see, there's lots of stuff happening beginning tomorrow and going all the way through September. And so go to the link, check out these events. The church folks, they've got convenings, they've got revivals. They're all over the country. They're talking, they're celebrating. We need to be in community so that we can support all of the things that are happening around these issues. And so if you want to get involved or you want to just spread the word about what is happening with Freedom Summer, if you can go to the next slide, Holly, make sure when you use that link, go and you can sign up here so that you can be on their list and you know about all of their events. They also have ways really easy that you can spread the word about what is happening. They have social media packets and graphics that are there for you, and you can join that. And they also have a partner link as well. Going on to our next slide. Just want to remind you, Black Lady News. They are on it. If you are not reading Black Lady News, you are missing out. We want you to go to blackladynews.info and subscribe. Or you can follow them on Instagram and you can follow them on Facebook. I actually get it emailed to me, and then I read it on either Facebook or Instagram. It's some great information. And if you are not reading it, you are missing a lot of what is happening going on in the community. And so want to remind you about some organizations that want to work with our sisters. Common Cause Florida, they have an election that is coming up. Common Cause Florida is nonpartisan, but we've got Win with Black Women Sisters everywhere. And so if you want to be a voting rights legal monitor, they got a way for you to be involved. They need poll monitors. They also need poll monitor recruitments for phone bankers. And so they've got, if you can volunteer in person, they've got places for you. If they've got you need to volunteer from home, they got something for you. Elections are important, and democracy is powered by people. And so if you want to get involved, this is a way to get involved. Next, we've got another organization that wants us right there. So the League of Women Voters has invited our network to join them for the August 8th Day of Action. You can go to their website and check it out. They also have some save the dates for some Observer Corps. And so these are people who go out and observe government meetings or do election observation efforts on polls. So if you want to participate in that training, it's happening on July the 22nd and also August the 12th. They also have some guidance and action kits that are on their website. So if voting rights is your thing, here is another way for you to be involved. And of course, again, there's a Win with Black Women person who is over here in this organization who is making sure that we are connected to it. Then we have our good sister, Kimberly Crenshaw. You know, she's a Win with Black Women OG. She has a number of events that she would love for us to know about and support. She's got, as part of her 3rd annual Democracy Defenders, they've got the Legacy, Literacy, and Liberation, all that alliteration, Summit, which is happening on July the 27th through the 31st. And look at all of the wonderful speakers and panelists that they will have. Make sure that you can join them and support them. Also, Martha's Vineyard, the Black Book Festival, happening Saturday, August the 15th. She will be there with her book, Back Talker. So if you are on the Vineyard on August the 15th, join her for the Martha's Vineyard Black Book Festival. More information at that link. Just a reminder, Holly mentioned it earlier, we are registering 1 million Black voters, and we want you to be a part. We are still recruiting circle leaders. So if you haven't signed up, join us. And if you want to review the trainings or sign up for trainings that are upcoming, go to the 1 Million Black Voter training link, which we have at the bottom, and you can see previously recorded trainings or upcoming trainings as well. So let's go to what's happening in the states, because we've got a lot of meetings. So first, tomorrow, we will be having the All States meeting. That's happening July the 13th at 8 p.m. And since we're not meeting again until August the 30th, just wanted to do a reminder about the August 10th meeting as well. You can use the WWBW State Organizing link. We are working very hard, and we're about to talk about how hard our network is working. So let's see what these meetings are. And because we're not meeting again until August the 30th, I went ahead and put as many of these meeting dates on there so you can go ahead and mark your calendar. North Carolina is going to meet August the 2nd, 16th, and 30th. South Carolina is meeting August the 4th. We've got a new network in Arkansas, and they will be meeting August the 16th. Massachusetts will be meeting July the 23rd and the 27th. Michigan will be meeting July the 20th. Nebraska will be meeting July the 23rd and August the 27th. New York will be meeting July the 27th and the 24th. And Kentucky will be meeting July the 27th and the 24th. And Sister Beulah, I know I'm talking fast. I'm going to post all of these flyers and we're going to send them out so you don't have to remember them. Texas will be meeting July the 20th and August the 17th. The District of Columbia will be meeting July the 14th, the 28th, the August 11th, and the 25th. Now, Arizona meets weekly, so they will be meeting weekly July the 15th through August the 26th. Win with Black Women California will be meeting August the 17th, and Win with Black Women Washington State will be meeting August the 12th. Just from some of our meetings over in Arizona, their upcoming July the 15th meeting, they are going to have a jam-packed meeting. They're going to talk about their next book club. They are having a psychologist come in. They are going to be talking about the impact of the Big Ugly Bill on Arizona's healthcare. And they also will be getting a legislative update. They also want us to remind everybody in Arizona that there is 9 days to the primary election, which will take place on July the 21st. And they have 17 Black women on the 2026 ballot. And so they are doing a phenomenal job over there. So our next state is Michigan. They're having their meeting on July the 20th, and they are going to have a panel. They'll be joined by their guest, Rose Daddy and Glenda Steinbach, because they are going to be talking about getting out the vote in Michigan, because we all got some important elections coming up. And so our next state, we don't have a next state. And so just a reminder, if you are sending job and consulting funding opportunities, make sure to send that to Jewel Love's attention at info@winwithblackwomen.org. Send all those opportunities to her. The deadline is 6 p.m. so that she can get that out. If you have an announcement that you would like to be, now you're going too fast, Holly. Have Sunday announcements, you send that subject line announcements to info@winwithblackwomen.org. Make sure to get that to us by 6 p.m. the Saturday before the Sunday call. So our next Sunday call is August the 30th. So that means what, sisters? You will send in your announcements by August the 29th by 6 p.m. Eastern. So Chantel is not stressed all day Sunday trying to go through your emails. Lastly, just a reminder that, Holly gave that great report about Black women running for office. If you know a Black woman who is running for office, use the bit.ly link, send that to her, or fill that out so that we know where these Black women are running for office. We are tracking them because we've got to show you our power. It's not enough just to say, oh, Black women are running. We are showing you where the Black women are running and how they are doing the doggone thing. And then lastly, my last call, Zoom ain't free, y'all. We got a donation link. If you feel so inclined, drop us a few coins so we can keep the Zoom going. And with that, Joteka, those are the announcements.
Woo! Boy, there's a whole lot going on.
Oh, it was tons.
We only meet once a month.
Yeah.
So that's why we have a lot of announcements.
Yes.
Well, thank you all so much. It's been a beautiful call tonight. So much information. So many women have graced the stage, and we hope that you will take all of the information that you've heard tonight. We'll definitely get it out to you via email. And we hope to make some important announcements. So look for some announcements coming forth. We know that in just about 2 weeks will be the 2-year anniversary of our historic Zoom history making, Zoom breaking call of the 44,000. As I shared with you all, it was actually more than 44,000. It was 71,000. We actually have the data and the numbers to show it and the registrations to show it. And then there were about 100,000 watching that Zoom. So that's a very powerful night. And shout out to any of you who was on that call on July 21st, 2 years ago. And so we'll be sending out an email with some special notices in the month between now and our call on August the 30th. As you know, we close in the spirit just as we open in the spirit. And we're so honored to have another Cook sister closing us out. Let us welcome to the Win with Black Women stage our sister Elizabeth Cook, with an E, but nevertheless, another sister with a last name Cook to close us out tonight in the spirit. Thank you so much, Sister Elizabeth.
Hi, good evening, everyone. And that was amazing. It was a lot to pack in. Wonderful information. So now we've reached the spiritual closing. So sisters, I want you to take 3 breaths with me. Breathe in through the nose deeply. Let it out through the mouth like you're blowing out birthday candles. Okay, ready? Okay. You know what happened on this call? This was sacred work. So Jotaka held a safe space for us. Pamela opened the door in the spirit, reminding us that freedom begins when we remember. And Kristen Clark gave us the truth behind the legal decisions that are shaping our lives. And Brooke and Rachel named what our communities live through. Dr. Carey poured knowledge into our minds, and Holly kept us focused. Isosa reminded us that Black women build empires. Yes, they do. Some of you came here carrying worry, weariness, or righteous anger, and you were right to feel it. That weight is real, but so is your power. Because you see, Isaiah 40:31 reminds us, those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not get weary. Sisters, we are the eagles. Showing up to this Sunday call is an act of faith and an act of resistance. So hold Kristen's words into your advocacy. Hold Isosa's vision of technology as empowerment into what you believe is possible. And above all else, hold each other in your hearts. To God or the universe or whichever faith you hold, cover every woman on this call, her home, her health, her family, her vision. Renew her spirit, restore her joy. Send her into this week with clarity, fire, and the belief that she was made for such a time as this. She was made for such a time as this. Give strength to Christine Wells Winsley, Mary Anthony, Lisa Cook, LaMonica McAllister, Georgia Fort. Give strength and solace to Justices Ketanji Jackson Brown, Elena Kagan, and Sonia Sotomayor. Let each woman rise tomorrow ready knowing she does not walk alone. Amen and Ashe, Ashe.
Thank you so much, Sister Cook. And sisters, with that, we thank you for those of you who stayed on the entire time. We only meet once a month in the summer, so our calls, we're trying to get a lot in. And we thank you so much. And we look forward to seeing you on August 30th and all the places and spaces in between. Thank you, and God bless.